Mental health, mental health, mental health. Being an advocate of mental health, I have always tried to add a conversation around mental health in my podcast episodes. But talking to someone who has started an initiative to break the stigma around it is something on another level for me. There's always something new that I get to learn from them. Episode 14 of the third season of my podcast, Perception 101, was really awesome to record. Talking to the founder of Bate Ankahisi, Ayusha Bhajanka, has helped me understand mental health with a different perspective altogether, and I'm sure it'll help you too.
Hi Ayusha, thank you so much for doing this episode with me. As mental health is something that I really believe in, and I want the stigma to be broken. The Bate and Kahisi is something that is doing something different altogether, which I have not seen in a lot of pages or a lot of ventures that have come up. So thank you so much because I'm very interested in knowing your story and how you started this whole thing and how has been the journey for you. And I believe a lot of listeners will be very happy to listen to you and get the whole story behind that. So thank you so much for doing this episode.
Thank you so much, Samad, for having me here today. I am so excited to talk to you. All right. Hi, listeners. My name is Ayusha Bhajanka. I am known to be a 21-year-old. Lot of things. I'm going to introduce myself like that. I am a 21-year-old founder of a mental health wellness enterprise called Bate and Kahisi. We work around breaking the stigma, but not by asking people to go to therapy or educating them about the various kind of mental disorders that exist, because there are a lot of people who are already doing an incredible job at that. But what we do is we create safe spaces for conversations, because we believe that the only way we can destigmatize mental health is by talking about it, and not by talking about depression and anxiety disorder, but the fact that we all have feelings and it is okay to feel the way you're feeling no matter what it is. So we don't essentially talk about being happy or how to not be sad. We talk about peacefully feeling whatever you're feeling no matter what it is. So this is what Bate and Kahisi does. Apart from that, I am a bachelorette in social work. I write sometimes. Some may also call me an author, but I don't want to boast about myself. And yeah, so I do a couple of other things, but that's
What
me.
were the two books that you wrote?
So one is Unsaid and Unspoken,
Yeah.
which I compiled. It is a book through Bate and Kahisi that we launched, and there are over 70 contributors in that book. It is an anthology of stories, poems, and articles and drawings of real people with real life experiences. And the reason we did that was, again, also to start a conversation around mental health and tell people that everybody goes through things, and whatever you're feeling is valid and is okay. The other book that I published is called Quarantine. I am a Quora writer. I am pretty recognized in Quora. So it was a compilation of my best and the most viewed answers. And yeah.
Okay.
So that's about it.
That's very the first Unsaid and Unspoken. That's the book you were talking about, right?
Yes.
That's a very beautiful anthology, I believe, because having so many different people contribute in different ways. It's not just one way they're contributing to it. So it's really amazing. And yes, Bate and Kahisi has been. I have been following Bate and Kahisi for quite some time now. It's been 1 year, I believe, and I have seen the work that you have been doing. You used to do before the lockdown, before the pandemic as well. So it's incredible how you just said that emotions are something that we need to talk about rather than talking about what mental what mental health actually is, like depression or anxiety, whatever it
Yeah.
is. These things are talked about already. But talking about emotions, how you can be okay with yourself, how can you be open up to people or for yourself as well. So that's really a good concept that I am actually interested in as well, because people are not that ready to talk about what they feel. They sometimes put themselves down, or some other person put them down, to not actually be able to talk about their emotions or feelings, whatever. So moving ahead, the first question that I really want to ask you is that, was starting the whole journey of Bate and Kahesi difficult, in the sense that as mental health is has a lot of stereotypes. There is a big stigma to break for all of us as mental health advocates, as people who are actually working on those grounds. So I really want to know, what was that more difficult, breaking the stigma, like making people understand about the concept of self-help groups that you guys have in Bateं An Kahin Si, or even talking about emotions, or rather starting the whole venture. What was difficult?
Samarth, I come from a background of social work. So I've seen a lot of organizations work, and we used to have this thing called the rural camp. So every year in the mid-sem, we used to be taken to a 1 week camp in some village, or 3-4 villages we'd be staying in one place. So I think around in my second year of college, when we went for the rural camp, I came across this organization who was running a project in a village, where they basically wanted to help the governance structure in that village. Okay, but since villages, they have like their own ways of functioning, and they do not essentially like intruders coming in and telling them, okay, do this. So what they did was, they partnered with schools, and they taught children leadership skills, and then they formed government bodies of children, and they got these children to bring about changes in the villages. Okay, so to the villagers, it appeared as though it was an activity for the children, but it was their way of intervening into the governance of the village using the children. So in the bargain, they were helping both the children and making them into leaders, and also improving the structure of the village. When I saw that, I coined a term, okay, and I called it a non-threatening way of intervention.
Yeah.
All right, and this is exactly what I did with Bateं An Kahin Si. Well, what I realized when I was doing this is that people are shit scared of the term mental health in itself. Okay, forget about words like depression, anxiety. The moment you tell them, okay, let's talk about mental health, they already have their guards up. They're like, mental health? I'm all fine. I don't need to talk about mental health. My life is perfect. I'm super happy. So what I did was, if you scroll down to Bateं An Kahin Si's initial post, okay, like we started off with meetups. So almost in the third, fourth meetups, we never mentioned the word mental health. All we said was, it is going to be a strangers meetup, keep calm and rant on, it's okay not to be okay, vent out. And we used all of these fancy terms because the thing about emotions in conversations is that even the most introvert person has a lot of things to say. Okay, so when you give them that space, they will open up, they will speak. But the challenge is to get them into that space. Somebody has to walk in for you to be able to start your work, right? So to get people was the biggest challenge, and that's why we made it sound so fancy. And once people turned up, the conversation happened by itself. We had to do nothing. We just had to sit and watch. So, no, like starting Bateं An Kahin Si was not a challenge. We worked our way around it, and I think once people actually came to our meetups or came to our page, they saw the work we were doing, it was all unsaid. It was unsaid, but it was understood that yes, it is a safe space. Yes, they are talking about emotions. Yes, it is okay to feel the way. And then it just our family kept growing, and we never actually had to say anything. We never had to tell them that come and feel better with us, make this your safe space. It just ended up happening by itself.
So as soon as people understood the concept of the whole thing, I believe it was a bit easier for you guys. But what was the whole experience of having those stranger meetups? Because it's not something that everybody has done a lot of times, and it was something new for you as well when you started off. And right now you have done a lot of those things. So how has been the experience of these stranger meetups?
The idea of a strangers meetup came from the support group concept, okay, which I learned from the movie Fault in Our Stars. So I was watching that movie, I saw a wow, group of people sitting, talking together, so fancy.
Yeah.
Okay? I took it up from there. I knew I wanted to do something similar, but how do I start a support group? I'm not a counselor, I'm not a therapist, I am not allowed to do that, okay? So what I did was, I was taking a session on child sexual abuse with some children in a school, and the session was say 15-20 minutes, but I had a 45-minute slot with them. So for the next 25 minutes, I just left the floor open and I was like, you guys can talk about whatever you want. So we talked about relationships, peer pressure, best friend ditching you, and family, and I don't know, studies and whatnot. And they loved talking to me. And I wasn't giving them solutions or suggestions. I was just listening, and I was just saying, when a fifth grader stood up and said that my boyfriend broke up with me and my life is falling apart, I just said, oh my God, really? I understand, because I felt the same way. I'm so sorry your life is falling apart. Why would you do this to you? So I just made her feelings validated.
Yeah.
Right? I just made her feel validated because she is feeling the way she's feeling. I am being able to act smart about it because I'm 21 now. So it's been years that I felt that way, but that doesn't mean that it's not valid, right? So after the 45 minutes, it just felt incomplete. Like, I knew there was so much they had to say, there was so much I wanted to listen to. So I felt like telling them, you know what, I'll be available in this cafe afterwards. Whoever wants to come can come and we can talk. But obviously I had professional boundaries, so I couldn't do that. So somehow that feeling of that incomplete conversation and this idea of support group is what I collaborated, and then Bati and Casey Strangers Meetup happened. So what we started doing was we would make posters, put it up, promote it on like a couple of platforms, and pehle registration ho nahi ho, like it wasn't a big deal because I mean we had just started, so we couldn't put registration, like nobody would have showed up. So बस ऐसे भगवान का नाम लेके would just show up in the meetup all dressed with the posters and Bate ka logo and everything, and we're sitting and we'll just wait, and people would come and we would sit and I'd just introduce Bate, the concept, and then the conversation. And how would we start? Like, there was no topic, there wasn't like a particular thing that we were going to do. What I'd say is, you know what, talk about anything you want to. Talk about your happiest memory, talk about your worst memory, talk about your most recent achievement, talk about what you're feeling right now, talk about what you had in your mind when you decided you wanted to come to this meetup, anything you want. And after the first round of everybody speaking, something about what they heard from somebody else talking would just, some string in their heart, and then the conversation would just like go on, New meetups, like we've had Bate sessions with 20-25 people. We've had Bate sessions with 5 people also. Okay. And both of the times 3 hours felt less.
Okay.
We'd just sit and we'd just go on talking. So it's been an incredible journey, just meeting all of these people, hearing from them. When I started, I was skeptical, whether people would show up or not. And I didn't want to do like a whole family thing that keep coming, stay in touch with us. No. After the meetups, everybody would come to me and ask me to create a WhatsApp group with all the participants, and I would just refuse. I'd say, see, the meeting is over. You guys can exchange numbers, meet, do whatever you want. Bate is not going to do that, because you wanted to keep the idea of strangers there. Yeah. You come and then you go your own ways. All right. And if you want to come back for a meetup, you know where to find us. All the information is available on Instagram. We won't even ask you to follow us. It's totally up to you. Like, no strings attached of any kind. But after the first 3-4 meetups, we started seeing so many similar faces because they made it their happy place. Like, they would make it a point to come to every single meetup. Like, we'd always do sessions in Andheri or Kandivali, like mostly Andheri, because it's like the center point for everybody. Like, everybody can travel and come. And we had people coming from Thane and Mulund every single meetup, like just because they wanted to be there in that space. And it was just so incredible seeing this community grow. And once we realized that, that it wasn't about being judged. It wasn't about I'm going to show up and I'm going to open myself and what are they going to think or how am I going to talk. We realized that once people felt confident that yes, this is a safe space. Yes, whatever I say is being heard and is being validated. Yes, nobody's judging me. Nobody's going to think twice before opening up and sharing their deepest, darkest, filthiest secret. And being vulnerable and being miserably themselves. And that's how then that confidence from those strangers meetup led us to launch Sunshines and Hurricanes, our own mental health support group program, where this whole idea stemmed from. We were finally able to curate this program and launch it. And we've had so many members since. It's just been a beautiful journey altogether.
But how has it been for you as a moderator here? Because I believe a lot of feelings would have been there. You know, your feelings could have been in all over the place when it was the first time you saw a lot of people coming up. Because it's something you are dreaming of doing, helping people around in a very unique way. And when you get attached to what you know, it's like your baby. This whole thing, this whole venture is like your baby, and when you're attached to this so deep heartedly, I believe, you know, seeing those people first, let's talk about the first and the last support group, you know, the strangers meetup that you have had. And what has been your emotion or feeling at that moment? That's something I'm really excited, or you know, I want to know about, because I believe there is something that we'll get to learn here. That's for sure.
Honestly, Samat, I'd like to correct you because Bati and Casey is not my baby. Bati and Casey is me. Every single time I've gone for a meetup, I've dressed up like it was my birthday. Because every single time I went there, I discovered something new about myself. And I've grown every single time. And I've always said this, I am not helping people, I'm helping myself. I did Bate and Kahisi because I needed it. The fact that it is helping so many other people, it's just a cherry on the icing. That is not why I was doing what I was doing. I am not a good person, I'm a selfish person. I am only doing this for myself. And it makes me immensely happy. Okay. Talking about the first and last meetup, every single meetup I've always said this thing. Even if it is the 100th meetup, I'm still going to have something new to say which you guys haven't heard about me before. And that's the reason I'm here, because I have so much to vent out myself, you know, and that is exactly what I said in the first meetup. That's exactly what I said in my last meetup as well. So, and I see myself growing as a person, and I feel like this is how ventures are. When it can't be a new thing that you've created. It has to be a part of you. Only then it keeps growing along with you.
Yeah.
You know, because when it's not, when it's a separate entity, you can abandon it at some point. It may happen, but if it is a part of you, it is always going to grow as long as you're growing. And that's exactly what Bate is for me. I remember, and this is not just about me. Like if you're looking at me as a moderator, at Bate and Casey, there's no moderator ever.
Okay.
You know, it is always a give and take. I was just as much a part of that process as anybody else was. And this is exactly what I train my facilitators for the support group program as well, because those I can't run because they are run by trained professionals. So we take a workshop with them. I take a workshop with them on how to conduct these sessions, because Bate has a certain way of doing it. Like I said, it's never therapy. It's never me telling you or giving you suggestions. That's number one rule. Nobody gives suggestions to nobody. You just talk about whatever you want to talk about. Everybody else listens. So one of the things that I always tell my therapist is that you are just as much a group member as everybody else is. So you get to share your stories too. And in fact, the other group members are only going to open up more if you act vulnerable. Vulnerability attracts vulnerability. I can sit here acting strong and cool all I want, okay, and both of us are just going to keep on piling up on our ego. Oh yeah, I broke up, and not a big deal, man. I didn't even love this guy. Oh yeah, you know what, Ayusha, yeah, even I broke up with the girl, man. Like it was just like a casual thing. But the moment you actually start talking about the real things, dude, I miss him, man. My life is so messed up without him. Yeah, I feel you. You know, having a partner is so important. And then there's something very pure that's created. You know, there's no ego. There's no layers of I'm so strong. My life is so perfect, and it really makes living life easier when you can create that space. And I think everybody deserves it, even a therapist, even a moderator, and every single person. So the idea is to create a mutual space. And I feel like if I am in a position where people look at me and tell me that, wow, Aisha, your life is so perfect, then I think I've done everything wrong. Because the reason I did this whole thing was so that people get to know how imperfect I am and how imperfect we all are. So don't look at me that way. Yes, I look tired today because I've been sad. I've been sad for the past 1 month and I'm trying to deal with it. Okay, and I think all of us are right. So let's talk about that. Let's not talk about how perfect Ayusha's life is, because it's not.
as I said that I will get to learn something here, and I learned 3 or 4 things for sure. The first thing, you corrected me with the baby thing. I agree with you, because if I also, like, I used to pick up this thing, like I pick up few things from people from whom I learn, okay. And right now I am learning this, and I am surely going to pick this up from you, because it's a good thing, I believe. It's not my baby as well. This podcast is not my baby. If it is my baby, somewhere it's a different entity that the like you said right now, and शायद मैं डिटैच हो जाऊंगा इससे, ऐसा कुछ हो सकता है in the future as well. So this thing, I don't want to get detached to it, because I connect to it very, very emotionally. So I totally agree with you what you said. But you know, the name Baatein Unkahi Si, how did that come about? Because I think there is always this concept of getting the name right when it comes to anything that you start, anything that you want to, you know, as you said, it's for you. So even if it's for you, you want the name to be right. So how did the name come about for you?
Well, I don't put a lot of planning into things, Samarth, and this might go either ways, because ek hota hai, like, I feel like if I sit on the planning too much, no, I'll end up getting bored and I'll never actually bring it into action.
Okay.
This is my number one reason why I don't plan. If I get an idea, I immediately start working on it. Action, see the action, okay? And the other thing why this may go wrong is कि research नहीं होता है, so you know, you may end up doing something without knowing the backstory. It may not work out for you. With Baatein Unkahi Si, what happened was, when I initially thought of the cafe idea, no, as soon as I got back to Mumbai from that workshop, I immediately wrote Baatein. ठीक है, कि बातें करके something else start. Nothing, there was no logic behind it, just because I was going to call people and talk to them, so बातें.
Yeah.
So I made a page called बातें. Next page में I wrote the name of a couple of cafes जो मुंबई में I knew they did events and everything. I took their numbers, like I jotted their numbers, and then I just forgot about it. 6 months later, when Baatein Unkahi Si was actually happening, I opened that diary, I saw Baatein, I created a logo, made an Instagram page, made a Facebook page, and started calling all of these people, okay? So all these cafes, I was like, hi, my name is Ayusha, I'm the founder of Baatein, this is an organization, this is what we do, and we want to do a meetup with you. So when I posted that, no, there is an organization in Delhi called Baatein, so they immediately messaged me. And we had already created posters for the first event, and they said, ma'am, we're sorry, but you're going to have to change this name, otherwise we have to take some legal action against you, because we have a registered name and this and that. And I was like, is there nothing we can do, because I really wanted this name, you know? And they were like, ma'am. So I was like, okay. And I was luckily working at a production house then. So we had this problem with the name of the web series that we were making as well, because it was already taken. So what we had done is, we asked the board if we could put one word before or after the original name, would that work? So they approved it. So I thought I'll try the same thing here also. I asked them, listen, if I put a word before and after this, does it work? And they consulted with the legal team and they got back saying it works. I was thinking, I was like, बातें का क्या हो सकता है? And I was like, बातें का Baatein Unkahi Si ही हो सकता है. There's nothing else that's working. And then we made it into Baatein Unkahi Si, and I just think it's such a beautiful name, and it's so self-explanatory.
Yes.
You know, the moment I say Baatein Unkahi Si, there's nothing else I have to say.
Yeah. Completely agree with you, because that's why I wanted to know the idea behind the whole name. And
yeah, so the pieces just fell
it's
in
kind
place.
of a funny story also, and kind of a you know, it's kind of an attractive story, because मेरे साथ भी यही हुआ. I didn't know what to name the podcast or how to name it and everything. As you said, ज़्यादा माथा लगाने से you don't get the whole idea. You sometimes get confused and you have 2-5 names and you don't know how to go with the name.
Yeah.
And यहाँ पे you had this click on something that is Baatein, and then you know, it could be a legal action in something, but then you had the whole idea of Unkahi Si, and it went out to Baatein Unkahi Si, and it has been a very attractive name for a lot of people, I believe, because जैसे right now you said कि, you know, अपने आप ही self explanatory है कि yes, what is it all about and what is it doing and everything. So it's incredible. You know, the next question that I have for you is that what kind of prejudices that have you faced It can be, like sometimes when like, I'll give my example. When I started with this whole podcast and everything, my family had a different perspective of it altogether, because I'm talking about stereotypes, stigmas. I'm talking about something that people don't usually talk about. So I'm talking to people who are doing something very different from the society. Like, it's not business, it's not nothing, it's not anything like that. It's something unorthodox, like you are doing, like I am doing. So it's very different. So that explanation of things is very different. And when it comes to the prejudices that you face from family, friends, other people as well, the journey is very different, because you have to face your own fears as well, plus your own family, own peers around you and everything. So what kind of prejudices have you faced around it? As we are talking about mental health, I totally believe that there are different notions and stigmas that you had to break around that. So what was that?
Well, before answering that question, I just had a very fun analogy in my head. So I just want to say it out there real quick before I forget it. So, Samarth, if there are 4 yellow rubber bands and 10 red rubber bands, and I ask you to separate them color wise, which ones would you pick first?
The easy one, poor yellow ones, I believe.
Right? Exactly. So, if you're saying that we are people who are breaking stereotypes, there's 7 billion people in the world, right? And out of the 7 billion, there are at least maybe 7,000 people who are trying to bring about a change, who are trying to break stereotypes. So, what happens is when I do start, I'm always going to get somebody who's working like me. It's going to be a lot more easier than looking around at the people who are against me. And this is exactly what happened with Bhati as well. I never targeted the people who were against me. I was never trying to challenge anything. I was just doing my thing, and the people who related with me, they just kept coming to me. And it was so much easier that way. Okay. Now, coming to answering your question, what was the kind of stereotypes that I faced? Well, honestly, since I was not trying to change anybody's perspective, I did not get a lot of backlash. I quietly kept doing my things, because we didn't even start with awareness generation. We directly started with the meetups. We never tried to tell people what we were, why we were doing what we were doing, nothing. We directly started with the first event. Like, the first post on our page is, we are meeting on this day, our first event is here, okay? And so we immediately got an audience that worked for us, and then that's how we began. However, over the period, one of the major things that I feel where there's a problem or a challenge, I would call, is people reach out for help, but they don't really want to do what it takes to get that help. They're going to come, they're going to share their things, and then that's about it. But they don't really want to go into a consultation session, or they don't really want to go into therapy, or they don't even want to go into the idea of the support group program. So there's still like a lot of stigma, and as long as I don't know what's going on in your head, I can just be like, okay, Samar, it was nice talking to you, take care. But once you've told me what's happening with you, what you're feeling, there's a lot of ethical obligation that I find myself under, that, I know he's in trouble, I know he needs help, but he's not going to listen. He is not willing to go into the support group program or seek therapy. So what do I do about it? So this is one of the major problems that we're facing. Another thing is, I think this whole idea of paying for therapy is a big problem, because we try to make it cheaper and cheaper and more affordable, but they're humans and they've invested into getting their degree, and they're investing their time into talking to you. And you are essentially, if you're a student who's living in another city, you are probably spending $200 to $500 every day on Swiggy and Zomato. Minimum. You're doing it on a daily basis, but you don't want to pay even $100 for therapy once a week, and you need it. So something like that. And facing these kind of challenges from the youth, essentially, who talk so fancy and everything, it becomes really difficult. So to be able to introduce help and introduce a platform and give out all the resources, and then not see people utilize it, and they're just out there just waiting to be used, is a problem. So that is majorly what we face. Apart from that, I feel we would have had a lot more struggles, but because the pandemic happened and because conversations around mental health kind of boomed in India in the past 1 year, it's really helped ease out our process. So a lot of things automatically happened for us, and we didn't really have to put in a lot of effort into making it happen.
Okay, I don't know what to say here because I didn't know you would put it out so nicely about the resources are available for a lot of people, but they're not actually ready to take it, or they're not agreeing with themselves that they need the help. And I completely agree with you. When I didn't know about these things that well, since like in 2020, I believe I got to understand these things better, because I also got affected by the pandemic in a different way altogether, and anxiety was it was at an all-time high for me. And that way, I believe there's this thing that I also used to do when it comes to therapy and seeking therapy and everything. I completely agree with you that people are not ready enough, right? I don't know why they are not ready enough, but they think that they're not ready to take therapy. I was in that situation as well, that no, I'm not ready. I'll take therapy, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready. So I completely understand the scenario that you have put out here. But when we say pandemic and when we say mental health, as you said, that pandemic had made it very easy to as the conversation was going around mental health and people were actually understanding what mental health is.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of misuse of a lot of things, but still the conversation was there. That is very important because that's what everyone who is an advocate for mental health, or everyone who is into mental health, wants to do. They want to start the conversation first before breaking the stigma. There is that's the first step that you or anyone wants to do. So what was it all about? When what comes in your mind when I say two words, pandemic and mental health?
Well, do I have to answer with one word? Because I don't think I have a one word answer to that.
Okay.
Well, I think if we talk about actually, I just got one word. If it's pandemic in India and mental health, I would say revolution.
Yeah.
Because there hasn't been so much conversation, so much open conversation around mental health in India. Because in the last 1 year, I've taken sessions with educational institutions, I've taken sessions with colleges, I've taken sessions with parents, I've taken sessions with children, I've taken sessions with law students, and about mental health. We've spoken about mental health, we've spoken about suicidal tendencies, we've spoken about so many things which was not possible before the pandemic happened. The Indian government has a campaign for mental health awareness. They actually have a board that has counselors, and they're providing free counseling to everybody. I never thought that was possible in India. Not so soon. Okay, so all of this has happened ever since the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and it's revolutionary for India because it's all uphill from here. It's just going to keep getting better. And I don't think anybody from our generation anymore who is available on Instagram or who's active on LinkedIn or any of these social media sites can say, I don't know what mental health is, or I don't know that I need help. You are consciously making a decision to not reach out for help. Okay, so I think that is a very big revolution for people to be able to say, I'm not feeling okay, even if they're not reaching out to a therapist. At least they're saying, I'm not feeling okay, but I don't want to go to a therapist. At least they're conscious enough to say that. Okay, so that there's a therapist available, but you don't want to reach out, so you'll at least reach out to your family or somebody. And I think that is incredible. That's a big change that we've seen, and I'm really happy to be able to be a part of this community at this time when there's when things are so much more easier for us, when change is happening, when people are willing, when conversations are happening, and when everybody's supporting each other. I think it's amazing.
Don't you feel a bit scared sometimes when there are so many changes around you? Like there was a time when you didn't know about mental health, right? There was a time when you didn't know about so many problems in our society, but you were always in a state of mind that yes, this is something problematic, but I don't know what to call it, or is it a problem? Am I thinking so much about it? Don't you think, sometimes like I get overwhelmed with all the changes happening around me? Okay, when it comes to anything that is a stigma or a stereotype in our society, because people have started talking about not just about mental health but a lot of other things as well. So I'm just asking you a blank question here, that don't you feel a bit overwhelmed with all the changes around?
Well, change is the only constant, Samarth, and I've always been on the side of things changing. I've always been a pro-change person, even personally in my life. Like, as a person, I adapt to things very quickly. So if I'm looking at you right now, is if there's a specific way that you're, moving your arms or you're nodding your head, if I like it, I'm immediately going to pick that up, and then from the next moment I'm going to start doing that. It's how I am. So everything that I do, I've adapted it, and it's like I'm rebooting every single day. Okay, I'm updating my softwares every single day. So I'm very well accustomed to change. When you talk about being overwhelmed with the kind of things that are happening in the world, I think I don't feel overwhelmed. It just makes me feel a lot more sensitive. And it kind of makes me feel a lot more responsible to contribute to the goodness, because there's already so much bad happening. Why add to it? There's already enough of that. So why not try to do something different for a change? And and I think what you're talking about, one of my biggest realization was studying social work in the first place. Like, the reason I wanted to do that was because I wanted to be able to see the world differently, not because I wanted to become a social worker and work in an NGO or in a village or a slum. It was so that I could see the world in a different light, see more than just brands or parties or friends or relationships or family, or like see beyond myself, see the world apart from myself, and that's exactly what it has helped me do.
What I'm going to say is that there are not a lot of people who think like you. Taking this in the positive sense altogether is something very different. As you said, that already a lot of bad things have been happening in the whole world right now, and why to contribute in the bad thing? You need to be in the side of the change. You wanted to be in the good side of things, and you wanted to contribute on that. You knew about this, and not a lot of people already know about this. As I was that person as well, where I didn't know where to contribute and how to contribute everything. I guess starting something has been a lot of responsibility, plus has given me the confidence to be the part of that change. So
yes,
that has been a positive side, I believe.
And what happens is you use the word overwhelmed, right? We get overwhelmed because we feel like we are also responsible.
Yeah.
Okay, either responsible for the bad that is happening, or we are responsible to be on the other side and bring a change.
Yeah.
It is neither. You are only responsible for yourself. So what happens is, the moment I start feeling that way, even if I'm just talking to one person in a day, or one person in a month, or one person throughout my life, I feel like I've created a huge impact, because even that one person matters, because I was exposed to just that one person. Then it doesn't matter if I have 10,000 followers on Instagram, or if I get the Booker's Award, or if I get the Oscar. It really doesn't matter. What matters is, what did I do from what was available to me? Even if one person is listening to my podcast, it makes a difference, because I did my bit. That's all you have to do. You just have to take charge of yourself and your life. Keep yourself happy. Be good to yourself. Be good to the people around you. You don't essentially have to try to reach out to 1 million people at the same time. It's okay if you haven't done that throughout your life as well. You're not responsible for that. You're only responsible for yourself.
Okay. That's something that I'm learning again here. Being responsible for myself is the first thing that I have to do. Yes, I completely agree with you here as well. Thank you. I mean, actually, thank you for making me learn so many different things right now, because kahin na kahin, unconsciously, I believe I have these things in my head, but subconsciously I can feel those things. I have read things about this, but I can't, put it in the whole journey I'm having, or my own life, and right now you explaining me things around how to be, any way that you have told me that you have to be responsible for what you are doing. You can't be responsible for anything else. So that is something that I'll take as a learning again from this whole episode as well. Bhati and Kahisi has been a very different journey for you altogether. You started it and now you are so far ahead, and you are having this journey. So what would you be able to, or would you be comfortable in talking about your failures? Because I believe there have been some failures from which you will learn all the time. I have had those failures as well, and I have learned those things. And if listeners listen to this episode and listen to your failures as well, if they want to start something like this, or they want to be a mental health advocate someday, so they will have this energy कि हाँ काफी लोग कुछ अच्छे भी कर रहे हैं, तो they have had their failures as well. And after that, after you are done talking about your failures, I would actually really want to understand your achievement as well. I want to listen to this.
Okay. Another analogy coming your way, Samarth. Are you ready? I'm sorry, I talk in analogies. I just think it makes talking about difficult topics so much easier when you put it in like a very fun, casual way, So this is a very recent way of thinking that I've developed in the past couple of months, and that is for me, setting targets to something that you've just started. If you have a startup, if you're planning an idea and you've set a target, okay, say if I would have set a target for Batein and Kahisi in October 2019, that by October 2020 I want to have at least say 2,000-3,000 followers, okay, then it would mean I've done something. I would have shut Batein by now. Okay, so for me, setting such standards before even coming to the ground, coming to the battleground, and seeing and struggling and checking the viability of what you're doing is almost like you are labeling a product with an expiry date before it's even been manufactured.
I understand.
All right. So now talking about my failures and achievements, like I said, I don't put a lot of planning into things. An idea comes to my mind, somebody says something, and I immediately go ahead and do it, because I feel like if whatever needs to be done is within the resources that I have available, I will not think a second before implying and doing what I'm supposed to do. If there's finances involved, if there's some resource involved which I know that I don't have available, only then will I actually sit on it and think and try to gather the resource, okay, or find an alternative. So a couple of things that hasn't worked out with Batein so much is one of the first things that we did was the pen pal program, where we felt like, okay, so people aren't always comfortable talking on calls, and we've had times when, like, I still get it, like almost every week I'll have at least one stranger write paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of messages to me, okay, and they don't want a solution, they don't want help, they just want to vent out to me, and they'll be like, thank you for listening, and then they'll never message me again. So I've had so many incidences of such people. So we thought that, okay, people like writing better, it's a more comfortable space for them, so we created an email helpline, okay, penpals.com, through Batein. So what you do is you just randomly go into that email, and we had a couple of volunteers, so you can just shoot mails at any point of the day whenever you feel like, and somebody will respond to you, not with a solution, but they'll be listening, they'll be there. And if you say like later that you want help or you want to get connected, that can be done. So that didn't work. So we got like 1 or 2 emails, but then, it never really continued. So the email is still there, it is still available on our website, but nobody uses it. And somehow even we didn't, promote it so as much. This is something that didn't work out for us. The other thing that was a major failure, not failure I would say, but something that didn't work out for us so well, was Unsaid and Unspoken, because we did it right in the middle of the pandemic. Okay, so as soon as the launch happened, and since there were 65 people who contributed, so say their friends or family, whoever placed an order for that book, and we had like a whole promotion drive that we were going to do with, like, we had weeks planned of things and everything. But what happened was, because of the pandemic, if you placed an order, so between the origin city to the destination city, if any city had a lockdown, the book would get cancelled, like the order would get cancelled, the book would return to the warehouse, and I would have to bear the charges for the printing. So, and that happened for a lot of people. So that is the reason we completely stopped all promotions. Okay. And then we could never revive it.
Okay.
So, and that it had financial investments also, of course, because we published hard copies of the book. So this was one of the things that didn't work out so well with Bate and for us. Well, yeah, and the other thing that didn't work out for us so well, and I'm actually a little upset with all of my audience for that, is the Sunshines and Hurricanes support group program. So last year during the pandemic, we launched the online version of it, and was completely free of cost, and we did almost 11 batches. Okay, starting from June to November, we had almost 3 to 4 batches launching every single month, and it was flooded. Like, we'd always have full batches. Okay, 10 people, 7 to 10 to 15 people every single batch. This time we launched a paid version of it, which is a very, very minimum cost. Okay, we've put it in a very minimum cost, but we're not getting participants. People don't want to sign up, people don't want to pay, people don't want to spend money.
The same thing that we talked about a bit ago.
Yes, exactly. So I wouldn't call the program a failure, because we've seen that it works. Even though it was a 2 months program last year, we saw people who were part of like 2-3 batches, constantly. So they were a part of the program for 6 months straight, because they constantly participated in every single batch. And then we had people who were doing 2 batches simultaneously also. So they were attending, 2 meetings in a week of 2 different batches. So we've had experiences like that. And then to see these people not, pay a value to the program, once you put a price to it, it's really disappointing. Because you know that they still need them. You know the people out there who need these resources, and a part of you also knows that they can afford it. It is a very minimum cost. We also have pro bono, seats available in every single group. We've kept like 2-3 seats in every group, where if somebody cannot pay, we'll put them free of cost. But, there are no people. People don't want to sign up for things like that. So it's not essentially always what is a failure. What do you consider a failure in the first place? Is it me not being able to put out a program that can actually make a difference? Or, is my failure always going to be dependent upon how my audiences take it? Because it is exactly the same thing. I haven't changed my ways. I'm doing the same thing. But it's the people who stop responding to it. Yeah. So it's almost like, you're making reels on Instagram, and suddenly one reel is getting like 1 million views. Okay. And all the others are in like 1,000, 2,000 views and everything. So what does it mean? Like, all your other reels are stupid?
No.
Or did this one just, by fluke get a lot? So in this sector, it's a very dicey thing to actually say if it's a failure or an achievement. For me, I don't have failures. It's always a learning. It's always something I did, because I'm never investing a lot into it. Unsaid and unspoken, a part of me feels like, yes, I wish I did better with that, because it had a lot of scope. I know, I want, a part of me wants a copy of Unsaid and Unspoken in every Indian household. I want it, because we have children writing about parents, we have parents writing about each other, we have lovers talking about falling apart, we have friendships, we have death, loss, everything. And I want people to know that things like this happen, and it's okay. So I want it to be the conversation starter, but maybe it's too late. Maybe someday something will happen. I don't know. Maybe I'll figure out some way to, bring it back up again. But yeah, that's there. Apart from that, in terms of achievements, again, while Unsaid and Unspoken is one of my biggest failures, I would say, with Bate, it is also my biggest achievement, because the fact that I even made it happen, the fact that over 65 people from all over the country, different parts of the country, actually contributed into that book and made it happen, is in itself a very big achievement. The fact that I have my face in the back cover of a real book, which is in my shelf, is a big achievement, right? So it is also my biggest achievement. Sunshines and Hurricanes in itself, the whole program, the fact that I was even able to curate it is a big achievement, right? The fact that I made it happen, that it's actually there, is an achievement for me. Bate and Kahisi, it came out of nowhere. it was just something I wanted. It was just something I wanted to do, and it happened, and I've been doing it every single day of my life. It's an achievement. The fact that I wake up every morning and I still want to do bate. I still want to wake up and turn my laptop on and do something, make a creative, think of a program, think of an idea, think of a collaboration, and do it is an achievement. The fact that I'm being invited to a podcast to talk about Bate and Kahesi and its achievements and failures is an achievement. So every single day, every single moment that I'm living doing Bate, being able to talk about it, being able to inspire people or touch people's lives through it is an achievement.
I can, one question, the one follow-up question. What would be the conversation like when you would talk to the person you were, a few years back, and you didn't know actually what mental health was? How would be the conversation like? I don't want the whole idea of it, but just a bit of the idea. How would you think the conversation would be?
Well, conversation with me. I've always known mental health, okay? And I'm saying I've always known mental health, not in the way that it exists, but the way that, yes, I'm feeling this way and I don't like this feeling. I was always aware of what I was feeling. So, and I've always been a person who was there for myself.
Okay.
So I don't essentially need to have this conversation. I'd always tell myself, oh, you're sad. It's okay. Like, let it be, or it'll be fine. If I would go to shopping malls and I'd want something, okay, something really bad, and if my parents wouldn't buy it for me, by leaving I would go, say, suppose if it's like a mannequin and it's wearing a dress and I wanted that dress and I didn't get it, so I'd go to the mannequin and be like, I'm sorry, I didn't get you this time, next time I'll pakka promise come and get you, okay? Like
That is so nice.
Yes, so I remember, I remember doing things like this very clearly. So I've always validated my own feelings, and this is what I try to do with Bate as well. The reason I have a rule in Bate's meetups that nobody is going to talk to nobody directly is because I don't want people to get used to other people validating their feelings. You shouldn't need anybody to validate your feelings. You're enough. If you are crying and you know that you're crying because your girlfriend fought with you, or your boyfriend, cheated on you, or because your mom's being mean, or because you didn't get that job, it already has a reason. What is validation? Validation is giving it a reason, saying that this has happened and this has happened because this happened. So when you know that you're feeling a certain way because something happened, it in itself is validated. You don't need somebody to tell you that it's legit, it's okay, right? And I've always been that person to myself, and I wish that everybody could be that person to themselves. You really don't need anybody to tell you what's fair and what's not, and what's okay and what's not. You decide that for you.
If the world actually understood this thing, that validation is not required for your emotions, I think the world would have been a very, very better, great place to live in. It is, right now it is, yes, we are in a good place altogether with the changes and everything, but if imagining a world where people don't need validation for their emotions, it would be so much fun. Mental health won't be a very big problem for all of us, where a lot of people would have been okay, but right now we see so many people who are on the verge of just burning out, or on the verge of just giving up and leaving everything. And this situation is going to get worse in the future as well, as we all know about that. So the thing that you just said about not having that validation from anyone else for your own emotions is something that people need to learn, and it's a whole different process for everyone. I don't believe that everyone is having that easier process to learn that thing. So coming from you, I believe a lot of listeners would have this effect on themselves as well, because this question was not something that I was prepared for, but I really wanted to ask you after the answer that you gave me of the previous question, because it would have been very intriguing for people, and it is intriguing. I believe that it would have been intriguing, and when you answered it, I was affected by it, and I thought in a lot of ways, yes, whatever you are saying, it's absolutely true. So thank you for that, the way that you have explained that thing. But one question that I didn't ask you till now was, I believe, how did Bate start exactly? But why Bate and Kahesi? Why did you start something like this? This is one question that I'm really wanting to know.
This is one question that I've answered so many times in the past 1.5 years.
Okay.
Well, Why did I do Baatein Kahin Si? Very good question, Samad. Your question I like. So I come from a small city. Guwahati is small. And the problem with smaller places is that everybody knows everybody, right? So if you go to a mall, there are chances you will bump into somebody who you know, some chacha, mama, tao, somebody. So like I said, I was always changing. Something or the other was always going on in my head. And people didn't like that change, because they'd always be like, oh, Ayusha to ऐसी है ना, ये ऐसे क्यों कर रही है, ये ऐसे क्यों बोल रही है, ऐसे क्यों बैठ. And it was suffocating. It was annoying, that people were constantly in your head and they expected you to be in a certain way, behave in a certain way, speak in a certain way. And I wanted to break free. I wanted to be in a space where I could just be myself. And, every single time when things are not right, everybody around you is going to come to you with solutions and suggestions. Ye kar lo, wo kar lo, aise waise, ye feel kar lo. But the thing is, I know it's going to get better. Obviously, obviously if I've cut my hand, it is going to heal sometime. Obviously if I'm crying right now, I'm going to stop crying at some point. Everything's going to change, right? At some point it will, it has to, or I'll die. Either which ways, that thing is going to come to an end. But the thing is, when you are in that moment, it's difficult for you to see through, right? And that is why it is so important for everybody to be and stay and remain in that moment. And that's the reason you need people to tell you, it is okay, Ayusha. Yes, it sucks. Stay miserable. Keep crying. Yes, your world is falling apart. Yes, God has chosen you and given you all the problems of the world. You are the one. Honestly, all of us has that bubble and we like feeling that way. If you start talking about your problems right now and I start answering with my problems, you are never going to talk to me again about your problems, because you want to be in that bubble of, yes, I am the chosen one. Yes, I have all the problems in the world. Okay? And this is how all of us are. We don't have to be ashamed of it. It's okay, right? So the reason I did Baatein Kahin Si was because when I came to Mumbai, where every single person, even if we are neighbors, we don't know so much about each other. Even if we're living in the same house, we don't know so much about each other, because the world is so fast-paced, right? Constantly running. You always have something or the other to go to, somewhere to reach. So bringing about this concept of, let's meet in a place, all of us strangers, and let's just talk about life. Let's just crib and be vulnerable and just rant and just complain. Cry if you have to, laugh if you have to, break down if you have to, whatever you want. This is the space for it. This concept worked here, okay? Because a lot of people were lonely. A lot of people felt like they didn't belong somewhere. And a lot of people wanted a space where they could just be themselves. I tried this in Guwahati as well when I went back during my vacations, but there would always be at least 3 to 4 people who knew each other in that group. And it breaks the process. Because when you're talking about being vulnerable, unless you've done it with this person before and you're really, really comfortable with them, you're always going to feel like the reason we don't talk to our parents about a depression, for example, is because every single time my mother is sweet to me, after that I'm going to feel like she's doing it because she knows I'm in depression.
Yeah.
Not because she really cares or understands what I'm going through. Okay? And that's the reason that stops us from connecting to people. So this is the reason when I started Baatein, I was very adamant about the strangers bit. Okay, everybody has to be strangers to each other. You shouldn't know who they are. And that's the reason I was actually really irritated when the same people started coming back to the meetups. I was like, ये लोग ऐसे ही होते हैं, इनको उंगली दो, ये हाथ पकड़ते हैं, they've made Baatein their happy place, now they want to keep coming here every single time. What is all this? I'm going to stop Baatein. I was actually like, I'm going to stop the strangers meetups because it's not strangers anymore. These people keep coming back. Okay? But over time I realized that it wasn't because they were trying to build relationships and find comfort. It was because they found a space where they could just be themselves. They were getting more in touch with their own selves, and this is what the idea was. And that is when I felt like, okay, if people are okay with coming to these strangers meetups again and again, and if they're okay with saying that I have a problem and I like talking about it, or I want to vent out, then maybe India is ready for a support group program. And that is how the next phase of Baatein Kahin Si came into picture as well.
It's a really nice story, because not a lot of people understand the concept of self-help group because everybody, एक तो सबसे पहला बात ये है कि थेरेपी कोई लोग इतना सीरियस नहीं ले लेते कि self-help group is something different altogether. Support groups are something different altogether because थेरेपी में तो आप वन टू वन किसी से बात कर रहे हो, and in a support group or a self-help group is it's just that you're talking to a lot of people. You're just talking yourself out. It's not that they will answer your thing. They will not give you solutions. People don't understand that. Even in therapy, there is this concept where people always think कि हाँ सामने वाला हमको solution दे देगा और हम ठीक हो जाएगा. This is not the way how therapy works at all. And nobody knows about that. Even my parents, I have asked them so many times to go for therapy, but they are just like कि क्या होगा किसी के सामने बात करके. और my mom has this concept of हमको पागल करने चाहता है क्या and all that thing. There's this stigma and there's a stereotype that is everywhere, not even in my house, but a lot of different households that we have seen. Our friends, our different people that we meet up every day, they all have this concept, and I don't know why. Because it's time to understand we used to give so much preference to IQ. Right now we are giving preference to EQ so much. EQ is so important for everyone, and not understanding the fact of EQ कि हाँ वो कहीं ना कहीं mental health से बहुत related है. It's a very different thing altogether to explain people, but I am really happy to see that people are coming with such great ventures. A few days back I have done a podcast with two people who have co-founded an NGO. They are not from the background of psychology at all, but they founded an NGO named Beyond Meds in 2020 only, and they are just 21 year olds, and they have just started it while they're in college, and they are doing wonderful. They have great concepts. They are growing a lot, and it's really incredible to see so many great ventures coming up day by day. It's not just about mental health, but any other concept that we are seeing that people don't talk about that much, and कहीं ना कहीं से some impact is happening. It's not, as you said, कि एक जन को भी अगर हम लोग थोड़ा सा influence कर सकते हैं to be a better person or to understand emotions, it's enough. It's enough for that day at least. हम लोग को इतना अच्छा satisfaction उसके बाद कभी नहीं मिलेगा, because it validates us somewhere or the other. ऐसे validation के लिए we are doing this for that satisfaction only, कि yes, we can bring about the change and we can help people understand mental health. So my next question to you is that what advice would you give to anyone who wants to start something like this? Because as I said, there are a lot of people who want to start, but they will somewhere stop. They are hesitant to do anything like this because उनको एक तो societal pressure, एक तो हो गया फिर वो पैसा कमा सकेगा या नहीं, दूसरा चीज की will this work or not. Like, you are a person who just goes for it. When you have the idea, you work on it. You don't stop and think about it. But there are people who think about it a lot, and they need the time. They take 1 year, 2 years, and अचानक से somewhere when they are about to give up everything, तब उनको ये आता है कि हाँ, now I can start because I'm giving up everything. So what advice would you give to these people or people who want to be mental health advocates? Because काफी लोग अपने आप को suppress कर देते हैं when they can actually talk about mental health in their family, with your friends, to just support mental health in a different way, even though they don't know about depression that much. They don't know about ADHD. They don't know about DID or whatever it is, but they want to be there to support mental health because they believe in it. So what advice would you give?
If you're talking about specifically the field of mental health, I would say if there's anybody who is willing to create a change or an impact, like I said before also in this interview, start with yourself, number one. Don't try to reach out to 10,000 people at once. Start with your own self, start with your own family, starting stands for your own feelings. And when we're talking about becoming a mental health advocate, we are not, absolutely not referring to becoming strong individuals and come across as strong personalities who has it all figured out. When we're saying that we want to become mental health advocates, we are signing up to be vulnerable and show our vulnerability to the people of the world, because that is what the truth is. Okay, and this is what I tell to my fellow collaborators as well. When we do collaborations and when I meet fellow founders of organizations, I tell them how important it is for us to be vulnerable and talk about our vulnerability. That yes, I'm not okay. Yes, I haven't been posting on Bate's page for the past 2 weeks because I'm trying to figure myself out. I am myself in a sensitive space and I can't always be out there for people.
Yeah.
So it is important for us to do that. We feel responsible for everybody else. We are not. We're responsible for ourselves first. And if you're not doing that, then we're doing something wrong. Okay, because we are promoting and advocating something that we're really not practicing ourselves. So we can't call ourselves an advocate. All right, so that's number one.
Yeah.
The second thing is, if you're planning to start something, like I said, go ahead and do it. Don't sit on it too much, because these fields are new, and new old actually. No matter what your plan or your idea is, the thing is, even if there are 2,000 people who've done it before, there is no right way of doing it. All the 2,000 people have 2,000 different experiences, and even if you take ideas from each one of them, you will still have a 2001th experience, which is going to be different from all the others. Okay, so you're never ever going to have it all figured out. Something is going to happen. Some cyclone will come, some pandemic will come, lockdown will happen, something will happen. Okay, and you're gonna have to bring about a change and do things differently. So don't sit so much on, I need to have it all figured out before I go out there and do it. Map your resources and accordingly plan things out and go out there. The third thing is, don't try to make it big at the first go. Okay, don't look at quantity, it's about quality. Social media has really ruined our headspaces over the whole quantity thing. More likes, more followers, more shares. Okay, like more people coming to the meetup. The thing is, there are 7 billion people in the world, right? So no matter what happens, there will at least be one person who follows you and who reads your content. The catch here is to stay at it. No matter 20 followers, 20,000 followers, or 2 million followers, keep doing what you are doing and don't stop. Don't give up. Okay, be passionate about it, and that's why I do it. Think about what is motivating you to do it in the first place. You're not doing it for the money. Are you doing it for the fame? Are you doing it for the followers? Are you doing it for the likes? Are you doing it because you believe in that cause? Okay, and then stay put to it. Stay true to it. Even if it's about if it's about, say, followers, or if it's about becoming famous, then there are ways to do that. Okay, you can buy followers, you can do multiple collaborations with multiple people, you'll get followers, you'll get the reach, you will get the fame that you need. Then stick to it, then do that. And if it's just about the passion, then just stay true to that. And just keep doing what you're doing. You don't have to worry about how things turn out. It really doesn't matter. Like, even one life changed is a big life changed.
Such a maturity, and the way that you're talking, it makes me feel that there's so much to learn. Learning never stops. It's a process, it's a journey. It can be your experience that make you learn. It can be you sitting idle the whole day that makes you learn about yourself. So learning never stops anywhere. It can be anything related to education, related to yourself, friends, family, your mental health, your emotional health, whatever it is. And the way that you have explained this whole thing, how people can actually be motivated about it, or the advices that you have given, it's very different from the advices I have got before. You have not given me advices, or anyone advices who are listening to, not just about the thing that they are starting, but how to start it, what mentality they should have. When it comes to things like this, when you start something of your own, there has to be that mentality first. You can't be thinking of reaching out to 10,000 people at once. You have to reach out to that one person only at first, because that is the motivation that you will require. Day in and day out, when I get comments out of the blue, when I get feedbacks out of the blue, when I talk about my vulnerabilities on my stories, on podcasts, on my reels, or whatever it is, it's somewhere like people actually appreciate. Now, it was at first that people didn't appreciate what I was putting out. And then it turned out to be one person. Then it turned out to be a person I didn't know at all, and that person texted me out of the blue. Now there are at least 5 to 6 people जिससे मुझे वो response मिलता है, that makes me keep going. So that's the whole process. वो 6 से कब 10,000 या 1 lakh होगा आपको पता भी नहीं चलेगा, but you have to start from that one person. So great piece of advice. But I don't believe that there has not been a lot of changes in you. Because starting something of your own will always be a journey, as I have been talking about the journey part all day long. And I I have named this whole season the journey aiming wrong or right. You don't know what you're aiming for. It's just the journey where you learn. It's just the journey where you will understand yourself and you will understand कि हाँ अगर ये गलत भी हुआ तो हमको पता है कि अब सही पाथ क्या है. अगर ये सही भी है तो I knew कि wrong के बाद ही I came to the right path. It's not that कि आप एक ही बार में right path पे आ जाते हो. So what differences have you seen in yourself when you started Baatein Kahin and today when you are talking?
Well, okay, so it's been what, 1.5 years. But I see a lot of changes in myself as a person. I mean, mainly as a speaker, you know, Samat, I've always had a fear of public speaking. Always. Like, even in classrooms, I remember I won't even I would know the answer, but even in my own classroom, I won't even stand up and be able to say the answer because I was so scared of people looking at me. And I think being able to do Bate, do the strangers meetups, and be able to do these interviews and hear people talk. Since the very first meetup, I realized that I have a gift, because when I start talking, everybody's silent and they're just looking at me. I am not kidding, and it might sound like I'm boasting about myself, but it is true. I've seen it time and again, every single time. No matter what age, no matter what background, no matter what the topic is, people really listen to what I have to say, and I feel like I have a gift and I want to keep doing this in whatever way I can. And the second thing that I've seen in myself is it's just the way I talk, because I never make it sound like I'm giving an advice or I'm saying something very big. It just comes from a place of excitement to be able to share, to be able to speak, and it comes from a place of experience, something that I've felt, something that I've thought, something that I've believed in, something that I've practiced. Okay, so and that attracts people, because I'm never telling them do this, I'm always telling them I have done this.
Yeah.
And that's a very big difference.
Yeah.
It's a very big difference, and because then people are listening to your experience and then you leave it on to them whether they want to take it or not. You're never giving it to them as an obligation. You have to take this because this is what it is. Because I've never done this. Suno sabki, karo apni man ki. I have always practiced that. I'll always listen to everybody with a lot of respect, and then whatever I want to take, I will choose, and then I will make my decision according to myself. I may not take anything from what you all have said, end up doing something completely different, but I will always listen. So this is another thing that I've developed. The third thing is I would always have a lot of things to say. Even now, you ask me one question, I'll go on for 15-20 minutes. I don't know how to cut it down short, but I've become better from before. Okay, I don't beat around the bush so much. I know what I want to talk about. This has happened to me not just because of Baatein Kahin, but also because of Quora, because I write a lot of answer on Quora. So having that crisp question and being able to think about 21 years of your life and your experience and what relates to the answer that would be relevant to this question really helped me shape my thoughts correctly. So this, and I think detaching, very big lesson that I've learned from Bate. My mom was very worried about me. She was like, you're so sensitive, you're so vulnerable yourself. What you're going listening to 20 people and their sob stories every single day. How are you going to live with it? You're going to be depressed by the end of the day yourself. Okay? You're barely being able to take care of yourself. And I initially tried to convince her that it's not the case, but I mean, I've seen myself change. I listen to everybody, but I always listen to it as their life story, which exists irrespective of whether they're sharing it with me or not. And there's only so much I can do. So I don't take it back with me. I never bring it back home with me. I just listen to it and I leave it there, because it's not my story to worry about. It is not my story to pass on to somebody. My job there was to be a good listener. I sat and I listened, and maybe I realized a few things from there as well. So I absorbed that and then I just move on. Because everybody has their share of stories. Everybody has their share of experiences and their heartbreaks and their achievements and everything. But can you sit with all of that? No. Right? So what I've realized is, as a person, we're too used to thinking about the other person, caring for the other person. We are always in a responding mode. Okay? How do I respond the best to the situation? What do I say that will make this person feel the best way? But what we forget to see is, if this is me and this is you, then you are a person too. okay? You are just as much a person in this conversation as I am. So you can't always keep responding. At some point, what I am doing is affecting you as well. So you need to come out and you need to see yourself also as a different individual in this situation and see, okay, Ayusha said this, Samath said that, and then Ayusha responded with this. How did Samath feel?
Yeah.
Was Samath okay with it? Does Samath still want to be in this conversation, or does Samath want to come out? And if you do come out because it made you feel bad, you don't have to feel guilty about it, because you are a person too. Okay, this is something that I've realized through my sessions in Bate, and realizing this was a really, really big revelation for me as a person, as a human, because now I respect myself a lot more. Now I know where to draw boundaries. I've understood boundaries. I've understood my own emotions. I've understood my own feelings. And the more I have conversations about other people and their experiences, the newer things I decode about my own self.
There's this unconscious comparison that you always have, not in an offensive way. I don't want to be here offensive, but there's this comparison when I am talking to you, when I have talked to so many other people as well for my podcast and everything. I keep myself in their shoes, but that, as you said, you don't want to feel their feelings, but you just want to understand that that person exists, that story exists. And you don't want to be overwhelmed by that, but you just want to listen and understand yourself better. So coming from you, I hope that again, I'm going to say this, I'm not going to offend you for that, but coming from you, it doesn't feel like you're a 21-year-old, because right now I'm talking to you. As you said that you want to keep on talking, you don't want to beat around the bush, and you just want to be crisp and to the point and talk about that. But right now, sitting here, I want to listen to you all. I can listen to you all day long. I want this podcast to be more long, and I want to continue, because learning your experiences, getting to know you in a different way altogether has, like, if I would have met you as a friend, through a friend or something, I don't believe that I would have this experience to know what you have been through. Somewhere I can actually understand what you have been through, even though I have not listened to what you have been through, because एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग अपने आप बैठ जाती है जब आप किसी के साथ बैठ के बस उनको सुनते हो और उनका वो पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू देखते हो कि हाँ, वेयर इज दैट पर्सन कमिंग फ्रॉम. एंड राइट नाउ, एज यू सेड दैट आपका लाइफ चलते रहेगा एंड मेरा लाइफ भी चलते रहेगा, बट वी आर हियर राइट नाउ एंड वी आर जस्ट टॉकिंग टू ईच अदर. So it's incredible. The whole episode was very, very enlightening for me, because talking to you has made me understand and believe कि yes, there are a lot of things that I still have to learn. I am still learning a lot of things, and अभी भी बहुत कुछ सीखने को अभी ही कितना कुछ सीखने को मुझे मिल चुका है. तो I am really happy with whatever we have talked about with the episode, and thank you so much for your insights, for what you are doing, for sharing your experiences and being a bit vulnerable as well, because it's not that easy to talk about what you have gone through. So thank you so much for that, Ayusha.
Thank you so much, Samath, and thank you so much to all the listeners. If you're still here, that is, listening to the whole episode, thank you so much for having me. I had a great time, and all the very best to all.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this episode. If you like my content and still haven't subscribed to my channel, you can do it now and help me grow. And if you like the episode today, please like, share, and comment as well. And I have shared a few links down on the description below. Please give a follow. Also, my podcast is available on various other platforms. A link to them are on the description below. Thank you so much, everyone. Next episode, next Saturday.